Welcome to the CyberJA podcast, the place where we discuss all things cybersecurity and GRC. I am Richard Perry, your cybersecurity and GRC enthusiast. The aim of this podcast is to provide a meaningful value-added platform via which upcoming cybersecurity professionals like yourself can gain insights from various topics covering cybersecurity and GRC that will enable them to become professionals that the industry demands. Stay tuned for what next on the CyberJA podcast. Selected as one of the exceptional minds in cybersecurity as a leader to follow, Jane Frankland. Welcome to CyberJA.
Richard, thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. And I definitely look forward to this amazing conversation. For sure, there are so many persons that are looking for that level of guidance, that level of direction. And there's no better way, from my perspective, than having persons who have actually been in the trenches, as they would say, with the experiences, having those various challenges, definitely gives persons that guidance that they're seeking to actually make the necessary decision in their lives in terms of navigating their cybersecurity journey. And it comes from a background whereby if I had received this, guidance, I definitely would have done things far much different than I'm actually doing things now, in terms of having someone to say, this is what you need to do, this is what you need not to do in terms of excelling in your career. So this is one of my main purposes for actually having these conversations, where we can actually add value to those who are trying to navigate their way into cybersecurity, and not just cybersecurity, but your life on a whole, career-wise. So Jane, can you share with us the genesis of your illustrious career that inspires and motivates others to succeed?
Yeah, I was always kind of brought up by my parents to follow your passion. So do what you're good at and follow your passion. And my brother was too. And so as a result, I went off and did art and design. So I trained as a designer, and I graduated from that with an agent, and I was selling work. I was one of the very few to actually find an agent, and I was selling work all over the world through my agent, and selling work in art galleries, because I trooped around with my portfolio, and then they came, sounded all good and everything like that, and I was really lucky, and I was doing the work that I loved and was really good at, but it wasn't paying the bills, and so a decision had to be made, especially as after I graduated, I fell pregnant with my first son. So I've got 3 kids. And so I had to change direction, really. In order to support my family as a single parent, I had to go and find work that would be reliable, because as a designer, although it sounded great and it was a great achievement, it wasn't bringing in the money that I needed to support my family. So I ended up kind of doing this career pivot. And I ended up in sales, which was an area that I never thought I would be in. I'm an introvert, essentially. I still identify as a designer, and I'm an introvert by nature. I'm quite shy as a person, which most people find really hard to believe. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy writing so much, because it plays to my introvert kind of side. But I had to change my career. So I entered sales, and then I met a new boyfriend, and he was in technology, and he was looking to start a new tech company, and I was doing well. And he said, look, how about it? Let's go do this. Do you want to come join me? You know what you're letting yourself in for. And of course, being in my 20s, of course I said, yeah, let's go do it. And so that's kind of how I ended up in in technology and essentially in security. Security was, I thought, interesting. It was an element of tech which was new and dynamic, and it sounded just really cool. And there were few things at that time that appeared like that. You know, it was networking kit, it was routers, it was high availability servers, and all of those, you know, I sold in that tech company, but we specialized in security. So we always led with security. And then after about 5 years of having that business, we niched down. So, you know, I learned on the job, and then we specialized in penetration testing.
Awesome. Your background is somewhat interesting. When I was actually looking at your profile, I was trying to understand, where did this synergy between, I would say, the arts and cybersecurity technology is almost like you're trying to merge, let me say, clay with iron. How it is that that actually fits? But now I understand you're actually maybe dragged into, as they would say, kicking and squealing to be a part of this cybersecurity and technological industry based on your circumstances. So from the get-go, I recognize that things do happen in our life whereby we have to make those pivoting decisions in terms of navigating our way along the path. So can you share with us more in terms of what actually kept you on this path going, in the fact that this was not something that you initially planned to do, I mean, professionally?
Exactly. I mean, to begin with, it was really finding a niche. So yes, I did find it interesting, but it was all about making money. You know, so my business partner and I, you know, wanted to build a business, build it quickly, sell it for millions, and go off and do what, you know, other things that we enjoyed. For me, it was my art. For him, it was music. And so we were really, really clear with that. And we knew what type of company that we wanted to build, you know, how it wanted to feel and the quality of the company, like highly flexible, responsive, cutting edge, and all of that. So we were really clear on what we wanted in many, many aspects. We didn't necessarily know exactly how to do that. And there were many, many things that we learned along the way, some of which that nearly caught us out in business. But you know, essentially it was really to do with making money. And then what's kind of kept me in the industry really is the people, so the community. You know, it has evolved so much more in the past. You know, I've been in the industry for 25 years, over 25 years, and it has evolved. And there have been periods where I found it actually really exciting and also really boring. You know, I'm just being completely frank with you, but at times it's been frustrating because it's just like, why aren't you moving? Why aren't you changing? You know, we are still talking about the same thing year after year after year, which gets to be really boring. You know, and then something will happen and it will move and it will become exciting again. So I am the type of person that likes, I like a challenge, and I like things to change. I don't like things to remain kind of, I mean, in some aspects I do, but I like the variety. So I like things to change and move. And security is actually quite different to technology, I think, because technology moves really fast. And although security is part of technology, we don't like to change that much. You know, we're in this like strange environment because although change is natural, change for us introduces risk. So it's just like, we don't like change because we don't like introducing more risk. Obviously, if the change, and we have changes in technology, if that means that we can lessen our risk, then that's okay. But it's kind of typically as by our nature, we're risk averse, so we don't like things to change. We like things to be stable and consistent. So for me, when the industry has changed and evolved, and we've seen more innovation, then I've kind of become more excited by it. It's kept me there. So in terms of me remaining in this industry, it is definitely people. The community, I could despair of the community at times. I am intolerant of the community at times. times. They drive me mad at times. But equally, I love the people. So the people, I'm a people person. So the people have kept me here. And then the innovation, the changes that are happening. So it's an industry that is so dynamic. Things change all the time.
Definitely, I totally agree with you there. So the thing is that in all of this, it's a very dynamic industry. And as you have mentioned, we as humans, we do not really like to change at the rapid pace as which the technology around us is changing, not to mention what AI and all of these is actually taking place today. So one of the challenges that you are someone who is from an entrepreneurial background, that having that ability to transform and to create. Now you have in today's environment, there are so many persons who might not have that entrepreneurial aspiration. How it is that they keep abreast of the changes that are happening within the environment and actually moving forward with your cybersecurity career. Is this something that, is it cybersecurity for everyone? Or is it, do you recommend that persons actually stop thinking about employment versus being an entrepreneur as you are within the industry?
Well, definitely entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. You've got to understand risk, and you've got to be comfortable with it, and your tolerance for it has to be really quite high, because it is stressful. And I know what working in corporate and certain environments can be really, really stressful, but they're different types of stress. So some people know straight away that entrepreneurship isn't for them, and that's why they have jobs, and they have those careers, and they build them and advance in them and things like that. Other people think that entrepreneurship is, and so they have a go at it. And some people don't. Entrepreneurship can be different for everyone as well, because there are different types of businesses that you can build. You can effectively be a contractor and have your own business, and that is still entrepreneurship. It's still your own business, because you're working for yourself. You just might be contracting. Then you can build like a small practice, and you can have like a lifestyle business, that works around your life, how you want to live your life, your family. Sometimes it could be that you want to travel around the world. It could be that you want to work 3 days a week, whatever. And then of course you've got building a business that you want to grow and scale and exit. So you're building an asset, and how you approach those 3 different types of businesses as an entrepreneur, varies, and you can move through them. You could start as a contractor, and then you could move into small practice, and then you can move into, I'm going to develop technology and some methodologies and IP, and build it as an asset and sell it. So it's different for everyone, and not entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. But what I do think is, I think everyone should actually have a go at being an entrepreneur, because it teaches you so many skills, and those skills would be really fantastic for us to have, in our industry, probably any industry, but especially in our industry.
Awesome. Can you, when you reflect on your journey to where you are now, can you talk to us about the various challenges that you have experienced, the setbacks, or it is that you have actually moved forward in your as it relates to your various challenges in your career path?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first challenges I had probably was looking really young. So it wasn't that I was a woman in a male-dominated industry, because that never even occurred to me at all. It was just like, get on and do the job. But what did was me being young. I looked young, and I felt that people wouldn't necessarily listen to me because I was young. And also I felt the pressure of actually not being a technologist. I wasn't a practitioner. So it's just like, oh my God, thrown in at the deep end. I look really young. How can I sell and come across as not being stupid? So quality and intelligence are things that I hold high. And so I worked really hard to get around that, and sold in a particular way. So that was one of the first things that I kind of had to overcome. And then the second thing was really learning how to build a business, so and build a business as an asset. So the third type of business, something that you're building with view to selling. And I didn't have any experience in doing that. So I had to learn. I read lots of books. Mostly I mixed with people who could teach me things. I attracted a fantastic mentor who taught me lots of things, took me under his wing. And so that's another kind of aspect that I had to, get to grips with. And then there were things like cash flow. Cash is king. So at one point when the dot-com boom bubble burst, that nearly took out my business, my first business, my pen testing company. And the order books were great, business was good, but because some clients had gone out of business, that left us exposed, and we didn't have enough reserves in the bank to continue. So we had to find a way and get resourceful in order to continue with the business, or we could have sold it. We chose, my business partner and I chose to continue with it, and we found a way to do that. So you have to be really, really resourceful as an entrepreneur. And then there were things like my relationship with my business partner, who was also the father to two of my kids, broke down. And I went through a whole period of, I would say, navigating my way through my career, what it was that I wanted to do, where I belonged. Was that insecurity? Was it outside? Periods of rejection, so there was a period in my life where I was absolutely knocked to the floor, and I had to get back up, and I kept being knocked down every time I got back up. Obviously I'm talking figuratively speaking, but it was really, really hard. And all the time, I'm mum to 3 kids and supporting them, keeping things going on at home, earning my own money. And I just went through this horrific period of questioning my value, my worth, where it was I was supposed to be, who it was I was supposed to be serving, why weren't things working for me, how could I change things, and so on. So that was a huge growth spurt for me, and I'm so grateful for it, but it was really, really tough. And so I think those are just some examples really of kind of pieces in my career that I've had to, challenges, problems that I've had to solve along the way. I mean, there've been more since, because lots of people kind of look at you, especially being an influencer in the market, being a leader in the market, being a voice for the voiceless, in the market, and building and selling a business, and they think they know you, but they don't. They don't. Everything these days is filtered. We communicate what we want to communicate, and that all goes through a filter. So a lot of the challenges that I've gone through, I haven't actually communicated. Some of them I have, but a lot of them I haven't. So it's a journey, and it's been tough.
Exactly. I mean, we all have these journeys. I mean, so many of us have the various ups and downs, as they would say, not to mention with COVID. I mean, so many persons lost their jobs, including myself, having to struggle with all of these things. So when persons now want to reach out to me to ask, to say that they're unemployed, they're in cybersecurity, or trying to break into cybersecurity, at times they get frustrated. But I always try to explain that we have to find a way to break the barriers. We have to keep pushing forward, be persistent regardless of the various circumstances that are affecting us, or the circumstances around us. There are so many ways that we can actually build our career. You have mentioned a number of those in terms of that, seeking mentorship, reaching out on LinkedIn or the various platforms, trying to find persons that you want to emulate in terms of their professional career path, and trying to make connection with those persons who might be able to open those doors for you as you go along in your journey. And you also made something very important, is the fact that your pen testing based business, and one of the things is that there are so many persons. Cybersecurity is very broad. There are so many areas, avenues, but there are a lot of persons who are amazed or captivated by this thing of pen testing, and many persons want to get into this space. Can you share with us the realities of this industry and what it actually takes to be successful, for persons to really understand whether or not this is something that is really fitting for their career journey?
Yeah, I would say so. You've raised some really good points already, but you've got to be resourceful, creative. You need to be able to communicate. I mean, I say these things. You don't necessarily need all of these things. The more you have of these things, the better. So it's not an either or. It's kind of, the more you have, the better you're gonna do. So being able to problem solve, creativity, communication skills, written skills, verbal skills, presentation skills. What else? Being able to cope well with change. I think because it is dynamic, to be able to see patterns, I think that's really helpful. And that could be in terms of behavior, or it could be in terms of actually technology. What is happening here? What are the patterns that I'm seeing? And being able to translate those. Attention to detail is also really good, because you're going to need to be able to spot things. Equally, having that macro, viewpoint, seeing things holistically is also really useful. So all of these things will vary depending on what you're doing, the avenue that you want to go down, and also whether or not you want to stay as a practitioner or a subject matter expert or become a leader. So I think those are some of the main ones that I can think of in terms of what's really relevant to do well in this industry. And your values. You have to be ethical because of what we do. I think it's also really important to be someone who works well as a team and who can work individually. Someone who is not there to kind of be the hero, be the savior. Equally will be too judgmental. So those things I see a lot in security. So it's having the compassion, being able to collaborate, with other people, with other stakeholders, with partners, with your peers. Modern skills that are required for the fourth industrial revolution, which is where we are now. Being able to code is a useful skill to have in some areas, but it's not imperative. So and especially with how things are progressing with AI, you might even say, well, is it really necessary? So yeah, I think those are the main ones. And the other thing I would think, which is really important, is the growth mindset. So not being fixed, not having that fixed mindset. So being open to things and being willing to be challenged and to challenge. These are all things that I like to look for in people I work with. So I think that's hopefully given someone a good start. And the other thing I would say is you've got to be tenacious, especially getting into the industry, because like you said, a few minutes ago, it can be really, really challenging. And I've seen it be really challenging, particularly for women. So you need to be able to reach out to people, to open up a dialogue, to be able to reciprocate as much as possible, and to build those deep connections and those relationships, and with view to being able to give back at whatever stage you can give back. So they're really important because those networks can help you to learn, they can help you to find a mentor, they can help you to get a job and be introduced, you know, to someone who could help you, whether as a weak tie or whether as an employer.
Right, definitely. Jane, this was indeed a rich, value-added conversation. I mean, lots of food for thought, and it was indeed a pleasure having you. And I look forward to many more conversations. I mean, normally I would ask you to just to give persons just to give their final, I mean, key, uh, what I would say that key pointer or advice for persons who want to get into cybersecurity. But you have actually hit the nail on the head, as I would say. I mean, every single thing that you have mentioned is right on point. I mean, this has been a very insightful conversation, and it was indeed a pleasure having you.
Thanks, Richard. It was really lovely to be here, and I hope it's useful to your listeners and viewers. Final point is probably like, yeah, definitely network, and yeah, keep the faith, keep going. If you really want to be in this industry, you can be in it. You know, it is so diverse. It is so future proofed. You know, if you look at any of the careers out there, like cybercrime, it's good business. You know, so and it's just not possible to ever solve it. So it's a good business to be in. Yeah, so if you want to be in it, you can be in it. We require lots of different types of people in it, different thinkers, different ages, different genders, different races, ethnicities, and so on. So it really can provide a fantastic career that is very well paid, you know, for people who want to come in and contribute to it. So remember to like follow the advice that you've given. I've given some tips, and you can do really, really well in it. And change lives and contribute to the world, the planet. We need more better thinkers in our industry.
Awesome. And what better way to end this awesome conversation on, I mean, so many valuable nuggets of information and so many areas that we could actually spend more time to get into. So guys, until then, stay tuned, stay connected for future recordings on the Cyber JA show with me, your host, Richard Perry.